What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. Here, we're going to break down the rest of the NFL Week 17 slate. And I am your host, Chris Raybon, and joining me, one of the most accurate rankers in the game, the most accurate, as a matter of fact, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, happy holidays. How you feeling?
Happy holidays. Feeling good. We had another amazing show last week where we gave out 6, 7 touchdowns. You hit on another SGP with Ford Yosevach, and
Nice.
our favorite touchdown parlay hit too with Deebo Samuel. You called that. Good time to buy low, and Jalen McMillan hit for plus 713. So looking to keep this rolling,
Yeah, and those are always the guys. It's just kind of that DFS mentality of you gotta buy low. And Deebo is just kind of that guy. His price is going lower and lower to the point. I think I said it was like he's in the 5K range now, like that, like low fives. Like that is just crazy. So yeah, we'll try to keep it going. We had Dalton. You had Dalton Schultz, I think. Tajay. David Moore, Higbee.
David Moore, baby. Yeah.
Higbee.
I was so.
It's one catch.
He barely got in too. I think they were about to review it. I was like, please don't. But he barely got in. That was good to see.
All right. So reminder, all of our fantasy football content and DFS tools and models available right now over at fantasylabs.com. Again, all of our award-winning rankings, projections, and more at fantasylabs.com. Thursday night football. Seahawks at the Bears. Bears plus 3.5 at home. The total 42.5. Bears left tackle Braxton Jones went on IR, so not great for Chicago. But what are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, so for the Seahawks, gonna have to stick with my boy Noah Fant here. No idea who's gonna be playing running back in the game. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are iffy. If they're both out, Kenny McIntosh will be a popular play. I think he's solid. I don't know if he can handle a full workload, but he might have to here. So that's something to keep an eye out on. But Noah Fant, his usage just continues to go up. He set a new season high again last week with a 78% routes run rate. It's just been going up ever since he returned from injury 4 games ago. He's been seeing the highest usage all season. He's been averaging a 75% routes run rate. And, seeing a decent target share right around, 19% over the stretch. So in DFS player props, I think it's a market to buy low on him, but especially the touchdown market. He's up to plus 410 right now, actually showing the most value in our touchdown prop tool. But again, he's yet to score a touchdown in 2 seasons with the Seahawks. And I'm not saying he should have 10 touchdowns by now or anything, but he should have more than 0. So I think it's a good time to continue to kind of buy low on him because he's got excellent underlying usage right now. There's no reason for him not to have a potential big game, especially on a showdown slate. I'm going to roll with him here. And on the Bears side, I got to go a little bit chalky here. They're such a top-heavy team. What am I supposed to do? Give out Colin Johnson? Colin Johnson to be like the dart throw for a showdown slate and a massive GPP. I think he has some sneaky touchdown upside, but I give him like a 90% chance to have 0 catches here. So I'm going to go with DJ Moore because DJ Moore is just popping in my model. I mentioned it last week. He's just outside my top 12. But he's just seeing massive usage right now. I kind of explained that's kind of the offense right now. Just dump it off to DJ Moore a ton. They've been using him in the running game, kind of like that prime Deebo Samuel role, where he might get a couple, design rush attempts here, maybe even around the goal line. Who knows? But he's had 6 or more receptions in 6 straight games now. And I don't know what the weather report will be in this. I think there's definitely going to be rain. Unclear if it's going to be like heavy or how often. But I think if it's a rain-soaked game, DJ Moore's going to benefit because again, he's getting those low A-dot shots. He's getting screen passes, things like that. So I think his role should stay the same. Maybe see even more work if it is kind of wet field conditions. So Dave Moore, I know he's chalky, but in DFS, I would make sure he's in a ton of my lineups. And he's another player we're actually showing value on in our touchdown prop tool. So I'm all in on DJ Moore right now.
Yeah, looks like as we record this, about a 42% chance of rain, temps 44 degrees, wind 6 mile per hour. So it doesn't look too crazy.
Yeah, it's weather. The hell are you supposed to do with that? But and
Right.
42%, doesn't that mean like it's actually going to rain, but 42% of the city will be covered with rain? Isn't that how you're supposed to interpret that?
I thought it was a 42% chance.
No, I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like giving out like touchdown odds, things like that. I think it's like any percent chance is implied like it's going to rain. It's just going to rain like 20% of the area or something like that. I don't know.
I'm not blowing my mind.
I'm not a meteorologist. Look it up. No, it's definitely something. That doesn't mean it's going to rain in this game. I have no clue. Either way, DJ Moore is going to do good. That I do know.
Okay, now we have to do like a emergency pod, like a weather breakdown.
Oh yeah.
I'd never heard that, and like I've never heard that. Because like especially when I'm looking at the reports, it's like okay, chance of rain, and then I see 42%. Or like, it'll say like definite rain, and it'll be like 75%. So I always just kind of equated it to like odds, but yeah, that could just be my personal bias. If anyone knows, tweet us or comment. Exactly. But I'm honestly mind blown right now. Like I almost have to like stop recording this and go look this up right now.
It's you're not wrong. That's how it should be, but it's not. And again, if you're talking about a forecast like days out, that's a little bit different. But yeah, like it's definitely like the percent chance is like it's going to rain. But only a percent chance of the city will experience it. Something like that. That's the vague definition I would give it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it. Yeah, so it's saying essentially like a 50% chance of rain means there is a 50% probability that at least 0.01 inches of rain will fall somewhere within the forecast area. So yeah, it's like a probability mixed with a projection. Of like volume. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
it's like 42% chance of a reception. It's like when a book, instead of putting like a half a reception, they just give you like Julian Hill over under 4.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, that's even better. Yeah, the Justin Watson prop.
Right.
A half a yard. Yeah.
I get it.
Same thing. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre.
It's all about the distribution. I get it.
Yeah.
All right. I still don't quite get it. Actually, I'm lying.
I don't either, to be honest.
I'm gonna have to research this now. Now you just like put this in my head.
Same. I am too. I'm ignorant.
It's gonna be weather this weekend too. Oh man. All right. Let's move on. We got Saturday football. Chargers at Patriots. Patriots down to a 4-point underdog at home. Total 42.5. On the New England side, I like Austin Hooper here. His route rate has been trending up since the bye. They're using that double tight end set more and more. 64% route rate in the 2 games since the bye, 41% before. So I don't even have him, projected for that full, 64%. It's only 2 games, but I do have him with an uptick, and he's up to like just outside my top 20 projected tight end. So love him here as a dart throw on the DFS slate, on the multi-game slate, or a guy like a core play in the showdown slate. And the Chargers play a lot of zone defense, so that's usually good for tight ends. You got Hooper, you got Henry in this spot, so like those guys to get a lot of targets. And then on the other side, Patriots playing the second most man coverage, so McConkey is their man beater, the second best against man on the Chargers. And it's pretty shaky, but it's Josh Palmer. Quentin Johnson, I think he's 6. Herbert is like 6 of 23 targeting him against man coverage or something crazy like that this year. Palmer, he's close to 50%, so still not great efficiency, but when he does catch a ball, it's usually a longer catch and more upside here. So like fading Johnston for Palmer, he has a 15% target rate against zone coverage. That jumps up to 20% against man coverage. So Palmer tends to be slept on. He's getting like higher ADOT targets down the field. So he's not a high volume guy, but when he does get a few catches or see a little bit of an uptick, he can be somewhat of a slate breaker, especially if he ends up scoring a touchdown here. So he's been kind of under the radar this year, but he made a really nice catch on a 2-point conversion, which easily could have been, a touchdown. Instead, the same skill set would be needed. So like the way he's playing right now, I think he'll be kind of overlooked at at in that kind of mid to low end wide receiver range. So like Josh Palmer and Hooper for the Patriots. All right, next up we got the Broncos at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals 3-point favorites, some 3.5s out there as well. Total up to 50. That's been going up. Makes sense. I mean, like I said, I think I talked about it on the projections part. Bo Nix plays very well against some of the worst defenses in the league. But where are you going with this one?
Yeah, so for the Broncos, I'm going to go with Marvin Mims, who I know you're high on as well.
Yep.
Love him this week. Just been heating up and seeing an increase in usage with the nice 3-catch, 62-yard game against the Chargers. Also tends to get, a couple design rush attempts a game too. So that's a nice little bonus with him. But this is a matchup where the Broncos could be forced to throw at a higher rate just in order to keep up with the Bengals offense. This is a total in the 50s. The Bengals defense has been an issue all season. And Mims is the kind of guy that can be a downfield threat. Now he's getting, some rush attempts, things like that. He has multiple ways of, hitting in DFS and the touchdown market. So love him here. He's probably still being overlooked too, if I'm being honest. So still a good time to buy in on Marvin Mims. And then for the Bengals, I feel like whoever gets the Bengals these days is just going to give out Andre Yosevach because it's a top heavy offense. It's Chase Brown's obvious, Jamar Chase, T Higgins are obvious. You can either roll the dice on a tight end or go with Yoshi. The tight end situation is absolute mess right now. I'm not touching that, so I'm going with Yoshi. Cashed in for you last week. He had another solid game. I think like 3 catches, 40 yards, something like that, and a touchdown. That's kind of what you get with him. And I always think he's a sneaky touchdown bet anyways. He's 6'3". Probably been profiled to be T. Higgins' long-term replacement for a couple years now. So always love his upside. I think he's still overlooked, even though he's the number 3 receiver. And again, this is a game with, really high total. Probably going to be a lot of touchdowns to go around. So love Yoshi in DFS and the touchdown market.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing with Joe Burrow running a route, 80+% of the time. It's really as simple as that. I mean,
can't get better than that.
Every game, 3 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. Yep. They got to go somewhere. Oh. All right, got the nightcapper Cards at the Rams. 6-point favorites. The total 48. I'm going to go with Demarcus Robinson for the Rams. The Cardinals are 32nd in DVOA, dead last against number 3 wide receivers, according to FTN. And Robinson, really, that's his whole thing is he's going to either probably get a touchdown or 2 touchdowns even, or do absolutely nothing. So he's always kind of a nice high variance dart throw to fill out your lineup. Pretty low cost guy. And then kind of a similar guy on the Cardinals, Michael Wilson. The Rams are giving up the 8th most schedule adjusted receiving yards per game to number 2 wide receivers. And Wilson's been moving around a little bit more in the formation. Everybody's still waiting for this Trey McBride touchdown, but Wilson's a guy that, he gets some deep targets. He gets some red zone looks. He has a bunch of different ways to get on the board here and put up a good stat line, but he's another high variance guy. Some weeks he'll just do almost nothing. So he's usually off people's radars. I think, Dortch with that uptick might be a popular guy with all the running backs banged up. But Wilson, I like how he's out there, 90% of the time and has a multitude of ways to score. And I don't know if Dortch had that fumble near the goal line a couple weeks ago, or was that 2 weeks ago, I think. So I don't know if he gets like the red zone usage as much. So like Wilson for the Cardinals. All right, main slate, Raiders, Saints. I mean, Jesus, what do we got here? The Saints home dogs by 1. The total 37.5. Looks like Aiden O'Connell against Spencer Rattler. Is that what it's going to be?
Yeah,
disgusting.
Yeah, I was going to complain. I get stuck with these games with the totals under 40, but I just gave out a game that had a total in the 50s, so kind of evens out. But for the Raiders side, I'm going to go with Trey Tucker, Nick Giffin's favorite wide receiver in all the NFL. But, Trey Tucker just always tends to do better against teams that use more man coverage and when Aiden O'Connell is under center. And so both factors are in play this week as the Saints have used man coverage at the 6th highest rate. And Aiden O'Connell's the quarterback for the Raiders right now. So I love Tucker's upside this week. He has big play upside too. So excellent dart throw and DFS, long shot, touchdown bet, all of it. Love Trey Tucker here. On the Saints side, not much to choose from, but I'm going to go with Foster Moreau. I love you're high on Juwan Johnson. Love him. Foster Moreau's not too far behind in terms of usage. He continues to run a route on roughly half of Spencer Rattler dropbacks. So he's usually a good bet for 2 to 3 catches. With just the wide receiver room just being in constant flux. We'll see if Chris Olave returns this week. But if Alvin Kamara's out again, that's more potential targets. Plus, around the red zone, Taysom Hill's out for the season. So Foster Moreau's one of the top, red zone threats in my opinion. So he has 4 touchdowns on the season. He's always a sneaky bet for a touchdown. That's what we're going with here. This is a revenge game.
Yep.
So give me Foster Moreau here for, a really deep dart throw in DFS and who I like as a touchdown flyer here.
Yeah, the Saints, Valdez Scantling missed the last one. He should be back, but we'll see about Olave. But either way, they got to continue, or they're pretty likely to continue running that 2 tight end offense. That's what they've been doing, even with Taysom out. All right, Jets, Bills, 10.5 point favorites, total 46.5. Like Keon Coleman for the Bills, just they are kind of playing all their receivers around 50-60% of the snaps, so no one's running away. Khalil Shakir in some games gets a little higher, but Coleman's going to be probably in that 60 to 70% range. But the Jets do play the 6th most man coverage in the league, and Coleman leads the Bills in yardage against man coverage. His targets per route rate goes from 12% against zone coverage to 21.5% against man coverage. He's averaging 24 yards per catch with a couple touchdowns against man. So he's been a little bit of a higher upside kind of guy you want, high variance in this type of spot. And of course he has, big upside just attached to Josh Allen, but it's, with these Bills receivers, you kind of got to just, the floor is pretty much 0 for all of them at this point, except Shakir. And for the Jets, Tyler Conklin, he is 2,900, and at tight end, you could get five-ish catches from a guy like Conklin. Buffalo's running the 5th most zone coverage, and Conklin, he only averages 0.1 yards per route against man coverage, but that goes 10x against zone up to 1.26, so more than 10x when he's playing zone coverage here. So he could be a guy that just gets some ugly catches and if he finds his way into the end zone, you're in business, because I think he can catch 5-6 balls in this spot, especially if the Jets are in a trailing game script here. All right, Titans, Jags, 1 point favorites, total 40.5. Yeah, this is ugly. What are you doing in this one, Sean?
I'm going back to the well with Tajay Spears here, who cashed in on him last week with not 1 but 2 touchdowns. But I figured, he could see a bigger role with Pollard clearly not, being 100%. Titans have nothing to play for. And just Mason Rudolph has loved checking it down to Spears. So same thing goes this week. It's a spot where the Titans might not have to throw as much against the Jaguars, assuming they do keep it close. So the running backs might both see, more volume this week as a result. On the other side, it is really tricky because I was high on Brenton Strange as well last week, but I'm not sure what happened to him. He had a huge drop in playing time. Could have been benched or injury related. He was questionable with the shoulder injury, but it was Luke Farrell who ended up running a route on 35% dropbacks, 1 fewer route than Strange. So I'm going to go with Luke Farrell here. Again, just kind of not really sure what's going on here, but if for some reason Strange was benched or his injury flared up, Farrell would be the next man up. And I think no one in the world is thinking about playing Luke Farrell in DFS right now or betting on his touchdowns. But he's been sneaky in the past. I remember last year, he was kind of like Tanner Hudson in this offense, just getting targets whenever he was out there. So if this is more of a timeshare or something's up, I think Luke Farrell would be extremely sneaky this week. So he's a long shot, I'll admit it. But I'm not sure what's going on outside of like Brian Thomas Jr. in this passing game. So I'm going to have to get crazy here with Luke Farrell being my touchdown dart throw.
If that one hits,
20-1. I mean, look, it's Strange is like ruled out, like he was actually hurt and he's ruled out. Might be a little bit more obvious, but yeah, I don't know. Do you know what happened with Strange?
I didn't. I haven't rewatched that game yet, so I'm not exactly sure. I did see the downtick. I assumed it was injury related, just because he did come in banged up. I remember seeing him. I remember seeing him at one point like take a hit and I go to the sideline, but I don't quite remember if he like came back in after that, or like if that was something.
No, I don't think he did.
Something normal or what. So yeah, I gotta rewatch. But I did see the downtick for him. All right, Panthers at the Bucks. Bucks 8-point favorites, total 49. Tommy Tremble for me on the Panthers side. He is splitting work right now with Jatavion Sanders, but Tremble is a receiving tight end at heart, and he is capable of popping for some big games. We saw it earlier this year. I think he had a game where he got into the 90s in receiving yards. So he's a guy also that the Panthers target more against the blitz, and we know the Bucks like to blitz at one of the highest rates in the league, and he's top 3 in terms of their production against the blitz. So like Tommy Tremble as a kind of a sneaky dart throw here. And then for the Bucks, I mean, you got to go with Jalen McMillan. He's 4,600, but his last 3 games, 4 for 59 and 2 touchdowns, 5 for 75 and a touchdown, 5 for 57 and a touchdown. He's getting scheme touchdowns. I mean, just getting an uptick in targets. Otten's banged up. Sterling Shepard's banged up, so that's even better for McMillan. So love him yet again this week in another matchup that is not in the least bit prohibitive against the Panthers. All right, Packers, Vikes, -1.5 in favor of Minnesota at home. The total is 49. Where are you going in this one, Sean?
For the Packers, I'm going to go with Dontavian Wicks, and we'll have to monitor Christian Watson's status. He's iffy to play. If he's out, obviously, Wicks is going to step up. But this is a game where even if Watson does suit up, I think Wicks could be sneaky here. This is a game where the Packers will just probably have to throw at a higher rate than normal at Minnesota. And the Vikings, they have a great defense, but they do tend to allow, yards and completions. And Wicks is always a sneaky touchdown bet, scored last week. So I'm going to go with Wicks here. His value in DFS and touchdown market will depend on Watson's status, but like him either way. And for the Vikings, I just gave out Luke Farrell, so I'm going to go with a little bit chalkier play here with TJ Hawkinson, who's cooled off a bit. He had a 2-catch game, 27 yards last week. So I think this is just a good time to buy low. And another tight end, he's yet to score a touchdown in 8 games this year. That's kind of bizarre. But he should be due for one. He's still kind of working his way back from his ACL tear. Still, building chemistry with his new quarterback, Sam Darnold. So he's the type of guy that's just going to get better as we get to the playoffs and then in the playoffs. So I think right now would be a good time to, invest in TJ Hawkinson and DFS, and certainly the touchdown market, just considering he hasn't scored yet this year.
Yeah, he's been out there about 75-80% of the time.
Yep.
It kind of varies by personnel usage a little bit, but this should be a good spot for him in a game with a spread of under a field goal. All right, next up we got the Colts at the Giants. Giants 8-point home dogs, total 40.5 in this one. I'm gonna go with the guy I usually am low on, but Wan'Dale Robinson. He has the same target per route rate against cover 3 as Malik Neighbors, and of course that is the Colts Gus Bradley defensive coordinator. Gus Bradley's preferred coverage. That's their scheme. They run a lot of cover 3, single high. So Wan'Dale Robinson actually equals Neighbors in terms of target rate there, and he's a guy that probably going to have to get a ton of receptions, but he's actually capable of doing that. He can, because he has such a low ADOT, he's capable of putting up 8 to 10 receptions in a given game. I don't know if Drew Lock can throw 8 to 10 accurate passes, but hope he gets there, because I think Robinson's a little bit undervalued in this spot. Could see some wind in this game. Maybe favors the underneath guys as well. And on the Colts side, got to go with Adonai Mitchell here. His expected touchdowns should have around 2 to 3 touchdowns this year, but he doesn't, and so I think he's a little bit undervalued. You might see Alec Pierce come back and him go to the number 4 receiver, but he's targeted on a high percentage of his routes, and he's targeted downfield, so he could still get into the end zone or get a couple of long catches, even if he's not technically the number 3 receiver. He'll be even sneakier. So like Adonai Mitchell, as always, can't touch the Colts tight ends. I mean, they're just, oh God. So
that's my favorite thing to project every week. The Colts tight ends.
0.8 receptions for all.
It's crazy. Yeah. All over the place.
All right. We got the Dolphins at the Browns. Browns 6.5-point home dogs, total 40 in this one. Sean, where are you going?
For the Dolphins, I'm going to go with Raheem Mostert. It sounds like Jalen Waddle could return this week. That's going to ding Malik Washington. I still think Washington's a sneaky bet in DFS and touchdown markets, especially if Waddle's out again. But I'll go with Mostert here because this is a game where, the Dolphins should be able to play with the lead, be a bit more run heavy, which will certainly help Mostert. He is the clear number 2 back right now. Jalen Wright must be in the doghouse. He's just barely getting playing time. Plus, Mostert, we've seen him used around the goal line. He's clearly great in that role. He had over 20 total touchdowns last year. So this is a spot where, I could see Mostert getting a cheap touchdown, just getting more work in general, since it should be a pretty easy, run heavy game script for the Dolphins. And then for the Browns are really tricky to project right now. No clue who's going to be under center. No clue if like Cedric Tillman or David Njoku will be active, but I'll go Jordan Akins here. It does sound like David Njoku is already dealing with, I think it was a hamstring injury heading into the game. He was really iffy to play, but he picked up a knee injury that was bad enough I think he's getting an MRI. So, as you're listening to this, maybe we have clarity on this, but it just sounds like Njoku might not play this week. So, Akins will step up. He stepped up when Njoku left the game last week. So, he should be in a full-time role here if Njoku's out. Probably not going to see a ton of volume, but certainly a sneaky touchdown bet. So if the Browns do score a touchdown, it'll likely be Jerome Ford. But, if they throw near the goal line, Akins is right up there with, someone like Jerry Jeudy or someone to catch a touchdown. So I'm going to go with Akins here, assuming Njoku's either really banged up or completely ruled out for this game.
Yeah, I don't think we have any definitive news on him. We just got, he just had the MRI, so he is questionable, but he hasn't been ruled out yet as of Tuesday. So Mostert, Akins, all right. Dallas at Philly, 9.5-point favorites are the Eagles at home. The total 42.5. Jalen Hurts questionable, concussion protocol. The line has moved toward the Eagles. That leads me to believe that there's people out there that believe strongly that he is going to end up suiting up here. So, but that's obviously something to monitor because Kenny Pickett also got banged up in that game against Washington. So that it starts to get real dicey here. So if Hurts is out and it's Pickett or Tanner McKee, then I would like Kenneth Gainwell. Because I think they're just going to run the ball so much that you're going to have, more than just more room than just Saquon Barkley for some production. Because you might have 30, 35 backfield touches in this one. And if Hurts is in, I like Grant Calcaterra. You called it. I think you were super low on him. He had a goose egg last week. But Dallas has struggled against tight ends. They're outside the top 20 in DVOA, and always like to kind of target these guys that are on the field for a high percentage of snaps coming off a goose egg. And Calcaterra still running a route on 90+% of the dropbacks, has done it for 3 games straight. So even though he didn't register anything in the box score last week, still is out there. Can't pass block or run block worth a lick, but he will run routes. So like him as well. And then for the Cowboys, Kevontae Turpin, he saw an uptick in his route rate to 43%. He's usually in the mid-20s. So in a matchup like this, that's really tough, where Cooper Rush really struggled that first time out, I think you might use a guy like Turpin in that gadget role as much as you can to try to manufacture some offense. You're also dealing with wide receiver injuries for Dallas. CeeDee Lamb was banged up. Tolbert was banged up. Jalen Brooks missed last game as well. So could just see an uptick just due to that. But I think this is the kind of game where you want to manufacture some offense with your fastest guy, most explosive guy in Turpin who has started to see an uptick, starting to see more carries too. CeeDee Lamb used to see like a 1 to 2 carries every game. It seems like Turpin has kind of inherited those 1 to 2 carries from the wide receivers over the last month or so. So yeah, like Turpin a lot in the spot.
Yeah, I think Calcaterra had the most routes last week without a target. We need to have an award for that. He's the cardio king of the week or something like that. We need a term. I was seeing the routes run. I sort them separately to get the routes run data with 0 targets. He was the king last week, the cardio king, as I'll call him.
Yeah, wasn't that Kate Otten used to do that, and then maybe Calcaterra blows up next year because Kate Otten used to do that. And then he's he had his nice little stretch with when the Bucks were down.
Well, he would need AJ Brown and Devontae Smith to go down, kind of like Kate Otten had Evans and Godwin go down at the same time. But he was the cardio king last week. That was like the DeMarcus Robinson when he was on the Chiefs, right? He'd be 33 routes.
Oh my goodness, yeah,
0 targets.
He would do it a ton. There's a couple other guys. I think Quentin Patton was the guy who would do it a lot.
Quentin Patton, wow.
Yeah, there's a few.
I always love seeing that leaderboard though, and who takes it down.
Didn't Cooper Kupp do it a couple weeks ago? No.
He
had just 0 targets. I forget.
He had 4 targets. Yeah, he had 4 targets. You got to have 0 targets. Yeah, and there should be a betting market for that. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, that would one day right up our alley. Sunday Night Football. We got the Commanders and the Falcons. That was flexed, I believe, into that spot on Sunday night. So Falcons are 4-point road underdogs. The total 47 in this one. Who do you like?
So for the Commanders, I'll go with Olamide Zaccheaus here, who stepped up to be the new number 2 wide receiver with Noah Brown on IR. He was kind of competing with Diami Brown, who injured his hamstring, and he's questionable. So if he's out, my projection for him is going to be even higher. But Zaccheaus has been really solid in limited playing time this year. He's been commanding targets. So I wasn't too shocked to see him, erupt for a 5-catch, 70-yard game with 2 touchdowns last week and, more of a full-time role. Unfortunately, he had such a good game that everybody's going to be on him here. But I still like him here. Last week he got the revenge game bump against the Eagles. This week he gets it against the Falcons. Played for them for several years, so even more of a revenge game bump in my model. But yeah, he's not going to be under the radar for this game, but still like him to keep it rolling here, especially if Diami Brown's ruled out. And then for the Falcons, it's really tough because they're kind of top heavy. I don't want to go with Kyle Pitts, so I'm gonna just go with Darnell Mooney, who I'm really high on. But they're a team where Michael Penix didn't have to throw much last week, but I thought he looked sharp. So this is a game where he's probably gonna have to throw a lot more to keep up with the Commanders. They're underdogs here, so I think this is gonna be a good game for Michael Penix. I think Mooney's gonna be potentially his top target because Drake London's banged up. Not even sure if he's gonna play, so could lean on Mooney even more here. Who, Mooney's had a really high floor this ceiling, but he also has a pretty big ceiling. So, like some Penix Mooney stacks here in what should be a more pass-heavy game script. And yeah, love him in DFS. Obviously, it's a showdown slate, so you're gonna have to get creative elsewhere. But I'm gonna have a ton of Mooney and think he's a solid touchdown bet here as well.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe the good thing for Zaccheaus is Jamison Crowder also had 2 touchdowns, so it's gonna kind of split up all that.
It's true.
Washington. I mean, maybe Luke McCaffrey. Is he returning kicks now? Maybe who would be active if Diami? I guess it would be Osborne, right? It would probably be.
Yeah, it'd be Osborne. I think he. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he just learned the playbook. They got him 2 weeks ago. And with with Crowder and McCaffrey already there, it's kind of uncertain what
Crowder
they're going to do.
Probably sees he might just be
Crowder
might be Zaccheaus as a starter and Crowder as a starting slot. Yeah.
But I think it would be Osborne just being active. But I think Crowder would see pretty big usage as well. Again.
Yeah. That's probably how it would break down because it seemed to like McCaffrey more in that returner role and less as a offensive piece. All right, let's wrap it up with the Lions at the Niners. This looked like such a good game when the schedule first came out, and now it's just all Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Rematch of the NFC Championship game in San Francisco, but Lions 4-point road favorites. Total is 51. For the Niners, Jacob Cowing for me. Shanahan's been talking him up, said he's going to get him more playing time, and he actually did. Got an uptick to 20% routes run. So on a showdown slate, I think it's always important to kind of dig a little bit deeper at some of the spots. And Cowing's a perfect example. Like, he's not like a complete, like, he probably has, better than like a 90% chance of not like he has better than a 10% chance of catching a pass because he's starting to see an uptick in routes, and they're out of the playoff hunt. So who knows how that game goes. And the Lions, I mean, you always see a lot of variance in their games because they can put up these big point totals, blow people out, and you start to see a lot of the backups. So there's a lot of different ways Cowing could hit. Debo also playing a little bit more in the backfield, so that opens up some snaps, for guys like Pearsall and Cowing, and they don't need to see Chris Conway anymore. So Jacob Cowing, the rookie here. And then Craig Reynolds for the Lions. He didn't have really, was pretty quiet, but he is that number 2 running back behind Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I do like Jamar Jefferson but he would have to get elevated again. But I kind of thought he might get some carries ahead of Vaki, and Vaki would be more in the receiving game, and that is what happened. So Jamar Jefferson would be like a sneaky guy, to get in the end zone if like this game kind of got out of hand a little bit. Got a few carries last week, but as we record this, we don't know if he's going to be elevated again because he's technically on the practice squad. So if Jefferson is elevated, Jefferson, but Reynolds will be the guy that I think has a better game than he did last week. We're going to do something a little different this week. We've been doing the picking our favorite of our DFS picks for a touchdown parlay for our Parlay Express account on the Action Network app. Be sure to follow it for a bunch of parlays, long shot bets, round robins from myself, Sean, all the Action Network experts. But we're going to do a little round robin. So we're going to pick 2 guys each. We actually hit on our parlay last week with, McMillan and Debo, but we're going to go round robin this week, Sean. So I need, I'll go for you. I'll get a pick from you, then I'll pick one, then I'll come back to you. So who you got for your first?
For the first one, let's just go with Discord legend and Nick Giffin's favorite wide receiver, Trey Tucker. I think it's a great spot for him. So let's go with Trey Tucker.
All right. I'm going to go with Demarcus Robinson, baby.
Hey, their award we just named after him. Love it.
Yeah, he's the
OG.
thinking touchdowns. What do you have,
the
2
OG
or 3?
Cardio king.
Yeah. All right. Second one, round robin, touchdown. Who you got?
I love it. We're just doing like underrated wide receivers. Let's go with Andre Yosevach for my second.
Connected to Joe Burrow. That is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Give me some Keon Coleman. Let's go with
little
less obvious,
God.
but rookie late in the year.
I love it.
Yeah,
deep threat.
I don't want to go McMillan again. I feel like we're pushing the luck with just like I do expect him to have a good game, but I feel like 4 touchdowns in 3 weeks.
No, Jalen Naylor would be pushing your luck. Yeah. I love this 4-pack. Like, all these guys have massive upside and are probably still kind of underrated in every capacity.
Yeah. So you got just to recap, we got Sean Trey Tucker, then I went Demarcus Robinson, and Sean Yosevach, and I went Keon Coleman for the second. So little round robin touchdown parlay. Do with that as you will, and be sure to follow Parlay Express in the Action Network app. That's going to do it for our NFL Week 17 DFS preview. Be sure to subscribe to the pod so you don't miss an episode all season long. FantasyLabs.com is where all of our fantasy football content and award-winning rankings is housed. Don't forget you can use code FLEX40 for $40 off right now at FantasyLabs.com. Sean is on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free, award-winning Action Network app. Have a happy holidays, and let's get this money.